What's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Today is the 17th of October 2025. This is our main side. Man, the importance of the same size hands. That's what this video will be about. As I say, a lot of the videos around this time and up until now from the founding of In the Image Clothing Company are documentations. A lot of things to say, hey, I've been saying the same thing since the very start. As time progresses, me in this for life as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, Evan Strong. We started at the beginning saying the same things we're always saying. Our information is out of personal experience, trial and error, prayer and revelation. So, the human body. All right, let's talk about this, the importance of same size hands. The importance of these same size hands. We have two hands, we have two sides to our body. Man, we're gonna have shadows creeping in, and this is the whole thing about it, right? Blunt, bold, raw, real. I almost want these videos to be not so professional in ways here at the beginning to show it's just about as real as it gets, you know? Meaning it's as real as it gets, and that's what it's about. So let's get into this because I've done a lot of videos talking about my hand size discrepancy, okay? And I've made a video titled Patterning in the Hands, and I've actually measured with a measuring tape the width of my hands here at the knuckles, and you've been able to see as time has progressed as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, and my hands actually change in their workings as time has gone on. I'll get into this, we'll talk about it as we do, right? Each of the four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. I'll talk about where clothing sits, and then we'll really discuss the hands here. But I'm just saying, I have talked about the hands quite a bit. They've been documented under the gift of video. We have hundreds of videos as of today's date under multiple sides of In the Image Clothing Company. So the hands are huge and they need to stay the same size. And I'll get into it, right? I'll talk about it. There's a piece of metal wire type thing sticking out of the ground right here. Oh, I see, okay. So anyway, let's talk about this. This is our main side of In the Image Clothing Company. What we do is allow the human body to work. We do it through clothing. We also talk about everything in our lives: standing, sitting, walking, breathing, yes, eating, hydration, everything that we do. You know, everything that we do as a human being, we're doing it within our physical bodies. In the Image Clothing Company is not about clothing, it's about the human body, okay? But clothing's physically placed on us, and so we give a lot of free modifications in clothing. We talk about how clothing has to sit on us. Clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, where I'll discuss here in a minute, and be made from 100% natural materials because our bodies are only natural. Neutral, natural, and normal are synonyms within the human body, and there's a neutral position to everything, okay? Like the wrist here that I can show on camera, there's a neutral position, and then just motion outside of there. The wrist and its neutrality is something that's not normally there on the right side of the body, living in a right-handed world. We talk about the right-handed world and products that are designed to be used, clothing patterns themselves, and 85%, give or take, of human beings are right-handed across the earth. So we live in this right-handed world, we get into a right-handed patterning. I'm gonna keep going with the noise, okay? Where our bodies get farther externally rotated, dropped lower and away from our bodies on the right side, we get into these chronic patternings, okay? And that's what we really do under In the Image Clothing Company. That's why we talk about clothing, is to get out of these chronic patternings and scar tissue that gets built up in our bodies. Potentially almost a lifetime, but days, months, years, decades. Ropes introduced to the body, shoelaces and drawstrings twisting the entire body. Oversized clothing, imbalances in clothing. We talk about free modifications, buttons, zippers. Yes, shoelacing, drawstrings, tags in clothing. In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. We just have to keep our bodies centered. The body has a center line. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizes not only our head with musculature that comes up to the crown of our head from our lower jawbone between our eyes and ears here on both sides, but our jaw also stabilizes our entire body. So we have to mesh our body's center line with Earth's center of gravity. There's a center of gravity that Earth pulls down on everything with that has to mesh in the center of our bodies. Musculature only contracts. Every part of the body comes to the center. mostly and the best, right? Then we're vertical on Earth's gravity. The musculature connects from the shoulder to the sternum in the front on both sides, and it connects from the shoulder to the spine in the rear on both sides to the center of the body. Adductors come on the insides of the legs up to the center and grip inward. Our feet do as well, gripping arches inward and keep us vertical, opposing the center line on Earth's gravity. So there's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. Okay? There's just neutrals. The body has to reside in its neutral always. Otherwise, if you're too far out of one side of the neutral, well, that's what we call stretching, right? People stretch outside of the neutral, but now you've gone farther from the neutral than you need to, and then there's rotation on the other side as well. When it comes to internal rotation versus external rotation, from the hands up to the elbows in the forearms, and then from the hand up to the shoulder as a whole, there's also internal and external rotation. From the feet to the knees in the lower legs, there's internal and external rotation. And then from the feet to the hips, there's internal and external rotation with the whole leg together. So, stretch within clothing, one of those things that's only decades old as of today's date. It either causes Stretch within clothing just goes the opposite direction of the only way that muscles could ever work. All musculature in the body only contracts or gets shorter to work. Stretch goes the opposite direction, so we can't stretch the body and we can't have stretch in our clothing against our body's musculature. It's opposing its only functioning. So, a lot of things we talk about, and in the Image Clothing Company clothing will always be good. Staying centered, fitting correct, being made from 100% natural materials because the human body is only natural. These materials themselves didn't even exist decades ago from today's date. It's the 17th of October, 2025, if I didn't say at the beginning. So there you go. All right, that's a lot of what we do on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, another one of our fourths, we specialize in purebred standard poodles. Those are the big dogs. We talk about the same thing as allowing the body to work, letting dogs stay natural, okay? We just phrase it different because it's a different side to our company. It's its own thing entirely, but encapsulated with all we are as all four of the sides of us in The Image Clothing Company. In the state of Utah here, the United States of America, we've got beautiful nature, mountains, parks, rivers, lakes, wherever we do them, poodle parade events. Mostly just hanging out, having a good time. Bring your poodles, purebred of any size, or mixed poodles of any size. We'll have a lot of fun. I call them family reunions. Just a good time with the dogs, getting people into nature, getting the dogs into nature. I'll give information where I do on letting dogs stay natural, and we'll have a lot of them. A lot, and a lot. Do things for the environment as well, where we do clean the creek type poodle parade events and specific things like this. So letting dogs stay natural comes through proper breeding, proper ownership, advocating for these things and giving information on how to under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, registering our dogs, microchipping our dogs, keeping less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes, feeding, hydration for dogs, keeping dogs unaltered in a modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth. Right, like we do for human beings, same thing, but for the dogs. And the bulk of what we do under In The Image Clothing Company as a whole, that is In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, is huge, right? That's kind of the majority of where we dwell. You'll see what I mean as time progresses. Puppies, as they come, will be available to you, okay? On InTheImageClothingCompany.com, we will have all of our products. Dog products, collars, leashes, and harnesses, keeping collars centered, right? Like us human beings, we have musculature going through the collar of our top and our neck. We talk about our collar staying centered, like I said, In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, one of the biggest things you can do in clothing to allow your body to work. If there's any seam in your collar when it needs to sit evenly around your neck. Dog collars are usually much more imbalanced than human being collars, and so we talk about interacting with our dogs as the owners, like holding leashes in ways where our bodies don't get altered, and the height of dogs compared to the height of the human being as the owner. A lot of these things, okay? So, anyway, yeah. InTheImageClothingCompany.com, human being clothing, dog products, puppies, purebred standard poodles when the litters are being born. We do so much under the gift of video on all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company, and always will. I'm here for life, like I said, Evan Strong as the founder. So stick around and expect some big things, right? We can work with a lot of beautiful brands through the dogs, help people in a lot of ways through the dogs, service dogs, emotional support dogs, working dogs in all the ways, right, that we'll get into. So stick around for it. Always a huge name in poodles for a lot of reasons, health reasons, and beautiful information. And our information applies to all dogs besides things that are just poodle specific, okay? So stick around. Now, In The Image Clothing Company Poodles is another one of our I'm talking about it a lot, and it still is like, just talk about it even more. In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, stick around for the poodles. You will see. You will see. Stop back in, whatever you do, but it will be huge. All that we do with poodles, it'll be huge. It's gonna be crazy. I'm making it clear. That's a lot of, like I said, what these videos are at this time period. Speaking on things before they happen, just so that there's understanding of what's to come, because it will be huge. All right. Always a huge name in poodles. In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. Stick around for it. Stick around for it. In The Image Clothing Company Music, another one of our fours. We do a lot there. What I do is show the sizing and setup of guitars to not alter things like the neutral wrist and the natural rounding to our hands that correlate with the arches in our feet. Good nails, for example, on the feet and the hands, the toes and the fingers, fully supporting them to the tips. Cut relatively flat so we can stay in this neutral wrist position just in everything in our lives, and we don't roll around with our rounded fingertips. You can round the corners, but relatively flat on the tips. And we talk about sizing and setup of guitars on In The Image Clothing Company Music so we don't alter our hands up to our shoulders throughout our whole body. Well, this is the big thing, right? This video is actually titled The Importance of the Same Size Hands. Guitar setups, that's huge, right? Keeping the string spacing the same on each end, keeping the same rounding or radius through the whole guitar from the nut to the saddle. Sizing of guitars is huge. So we do a lot of this. But I make a lot of music, place it on In The Image Clothing Company Music, things like Metronome Madness. I just actually filmed episode 33 of Metronome Madness today, the 17th of October, 2025. And it's a lot of off-the-top lyricism, freestyling, rhythm and poetry, spoken word around the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? Just giving good insights on life through music, okay? But I make a lot of music, so check it out. There you go. A lot of cool things. A lot of cool things. We have In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, another one of our fourths. I thought I already said that in this, but we're on episode 169 of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, as of the last one I made. We give deep insights on life, right? We talk about the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things, but we're all just human beings on the same earth, designed by one God. We discuss him as he says that he is, although never perfectly because we're imperfect. But you don't have to be religious. You don't have to have any kind of views or opinions, because truth is truth, regardless of any opinion we have on anything ever. Okay, so we do our best to just discuss life as it is. But then I talk about the other three sides of the company a little bit there where I do. So stick around for the poodles, man. I'm not kidding about it. You don't have to stick around, but about the magnitude of what it will be. I'm saying it for the reasons I'm saying it. Stick around. Good things take time, right? Laying a good foundation, and stick around for the poodles. Big dogs, purebred standard poodles. Stick around for it. You'll see. You will see, and you will see. I'm making it as clear as I'm making it. Okay? So, where clothing sits is the same for everybody. It's in the same location, right? If you're a man or woman, tall or short, skinny or fat, any age or from any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. We have a natural waist above our hip bones, but below our lowest ribs. That's where we bend side to side at our spine. That's where our pants sit, okay? Then our bodies can just move. With our pant waistline slightly higher in the front than the rear, because our bodies have to stay neutral, vertical, activated through the musculature on Earth's gravity, and that's just the position they'd be in if we didn't have pants on. So when we put pants on, that's how they have to be placed on our bodies. Tops that we wear have seams on top of our shoulders, and the seams on the top of our shoulders have to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders, because our shoulders, they follow our shoulder seams and they connect behind our head. Our shoulders only ever work mechanically, just they can only function behind the head. So there you go. Okay, In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. It's a must because button-ups naturally sit back there. They have a band of material that just sits behind the shoulders. But if we have just single seams on our tops, and in modern t-shirt designs around this time, it's so common for there to be a seam in the collar, and then that doesn't allow the shoulder seams to sit even, as well as it pulls the collar off centered, right? And that's a big thing for the hands, okay? In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, if there's a seam in the collar of our top on only one location, it's usually the upper left side, right by this upper trapezius muscle that is the upper shoulder, connecting to the scapula across the top of the shoulder, along the cervical spine or the spine of the neck, and to the very base of the rear of the skull. That's how we shrug our shoulders. That collar seam is normally placed like right on that upper trapezius muscle. That's why we call it the dreaded collar seam modification, though. Our modification right under In the Image Clothing Company. This shirt actually has it, but I have my shirt inside out and the modification done, so it's actually up on the upper right side of this shirt that's underneath my button up. Anyway, just for context of what I'm wearing, as far as, yeah, we have to modify that to keep our shoulders even. The importance of even height shoulders is a video we have under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Just has to be had. Even height shoulders. I'll get into it big time with the hand in this, but yeah, if you just have excess material from a collar seam on only one side of your collar, of your top, your shoulders will be uneven heights. The side where the seam is will be able to be higher and actually contract that musculature of the upper trapezius and elevate, and the other side with no seam will just drop. And it's almost always the left side of the top, you know, the collar of our tops where those collar seams are placed. And then that reinforces this right-handed patterning in the right-handed world. Okay, so we'll get into discussing that more in this video. I'm still in the intro, but that's huge. Now you have context on that for the rest of this video, as well as, you know, I've said that in many other videos also under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. And just when we talk about where clothing sits, and one of our free modifications, the dreaded collar seam modification, it's so tiny, so small. Just a little tiny snip in that collar seam. You can find it where you find us, but it is one of the absolute biggest things you'll do for your whole body, to the tip of your toes and the tips of your fingers, well, up to the tip of your head as well. Right? But from, you know, any imbalances that are in clothing, and it's so common in modern day. Okay, so yeah, the edge seams of our tops need to sit as close as we can get to the edges of those shoulders. Rhyming, man. Because our shoulders just are a joint of bones, the clavicle, the scapula, and the humerus, as well as a joint of material, the top material to the sleeve material. Those things just need to be in the same location, then our shoulders can just work, you know? We're not trying to like work around our tops. And then we have two things we call prerequisites, and we talk about so much more than this, by the way, in clothing. But when I talk about where clothing sits, I make it pretty simplistic so the intros aren't much longer than they already are. But In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is just the only way you can weave a rope across the top of your feet, with all the bones, ligaments, muscles, and tendons that are going into the feet, gripping an arch inward, opposing the center line, keeping us vertical on Earth's gravity, right? The height of a gripped arch, the importance of Achilles tendons insertions, but the word even is in there. The importance of even Achilles tendons insertions and tendon insertions. Golly. A deep discussion on the right Achilles tendon. These are videos under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Our feet really just need to be working properly. The importance of even ankle flexion. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. There's a lot going on with those feet and the pinky toes, right? When our feet grip arches, point straight forward, just like the pinky fingers of our hand point straight out from the outside of our forearm, okay? And our feet really go into our hands as well. So within the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, we tie shoes just to keep them on. We have to tie shoes evenly over toward the center line of the body on both feet. And I wasn't doing that till I was 24 years old. That's one of the biggest things that causes these chronic patternings in our bodies and scar tissue gets built up, is things like drawstrings and shoelaces, because it's just a rope with one side over the other. And so we need to oppose the center line with it evenly toward the center of the body, okay? Now, secondly to shoelacing, our other prerequisite under In The Image Clothing Company to just not alter the body is removing something that's just decades old as of today's date from clothing: tags. Anywhere a tag's placed in clothing, it's either causing a physical gap, changing the body's only working position, and or it's just not allowing musculature to activate. And then there's compensation that tries to happen in the body, but everything's there, it all has a role to play, and it can't make up for something else's role. All right, so this shadow will be creeping in as it does from this pole that's being used as my tripod while the sun is moving, okay? The location in our sky, it's really our earth that is moving. But check out In The Image Clothing Company podcast to talk about the sun like that and the earth, you know, we just talk about life as it is. So the truth of all things, the truth is our hands are essentially our shoulders. We're into the video now, okay? We're through the intro, but this is what I say. That's a shadow of a big bird. I didn't see the bird. Oh, there it is. It's actually a seagull. The shadow looked big. Seagulls are pretty big, probably about a 5-foot wingspan, but man, here we are. This is In The Image Clothing Company, bro. This is as real as it gets. As I say, the feet are the hips. It's like I say, the ears are the jaw, right? We talked about the jaw so much. The hands are the shoulders. The body just has parts of it that really do the exact same thing as other parts of it. Whatever the hand does with the arm fully locked out, the shoulder will do the exact same thing. And same with the hip and the foot. All right. Yeah. The importance of the same size hands. And I've talked about this. I've shown it and I've shown it and I've shown it. I feel like I need this video specifically titled this, though. We have the importance of even blank, you know, and then videos like that. So the thing with the hands is there's this natural rounding to our hands. Like I was saying when I talked a little bit about how we discuss guitar setups under In The Image Clothing Company music, hand arches. There's this rounding to our hands, and we live in a modern flat world. You know, a lot of man-made things are so unnaturally flat. Like this device that I'm using here, it's a modern day cell phone. Well, it's about like 5 years old, maybe, but maybe even like 7 years old. It's so flat. Our hands only work rounded. Everything in nature has some sort of texture to it. And I've talked about this, you know, I've made videos titled a lot of stuff about the hands, actually. Since 2024, the very founding, incorporating the pinky finger. You know, the pinky finger is the shortest finger, and it needs to be incorporated in what we do, because our fingers naturally would just round around our thumbs with all the pads touching together. But a lot of people will touch the tips of their fingers together like this with their shoulders dropped, because the hands are essentially the shoulders. And so nails, we have to have nails on our hands, or you can't use the pads of your fingers because they'll just slip away, and you'll use the tips because the nails are there to support your fingers so you can have backing to the pads of your fingers. I've talked about this stuff many times, like I'm saying, but this video, I love it, I love it, I love it. I need this video to be made today. God said, make it, and here I am. A lot of things I can reference in this though as well that go into it, so that's also a good reason to have this after having made all the videos that you know, we can reference in this. Yeah. So, you know, the human hands only ever work rounded. The only way you'll get a neutral wrist is if you have a rounded hand. And if you flatten out your hand, your wrist will come out of its neutral position, just because to get all the bones to clear each other, there's just this natural rounding and opening to the palm of our hands, and where the fingers come down and meet into the palm. It really correlates with the feet. There's only one difference in the amount of bones in the hands and the feet. When they grip things, what you could call the hand arches, and then our feet arches, just supporting our bodies unaltered. Shoelacing properly, tags either removed from shoes or just get a lot of texture to them. You know, how pant cuffs affect body mechanics, keeping the pant cuffs off of the top of the feet so that the arches can grip. Like I said, the height of a gripped arch, right? We need our feet to grip arches and be able to elevate. Things at the waist affecting the feet, like I say in the video titled Where Open Hips Come From under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, I talked mostly about the feet. So those feet arches need to be there, and then it travels up our whole body. Then our hips can be unaltered. Through our spine, it can be neutral. To our shoulders, they can be neutral. Out to our hands, they can be neutral. Our jaw coming from our spine can then be neutral, and there we go. It all starts at the feet as our foundation. I talk about Zero Shoes, the brand. No affiliation with them from In The Image Clothing Company as of today's date, but XERO, that brand of shoe, I love them, and their slogan is living life feet first. It always starts at the feet with the human body, all right? Allowing the body to work. In The Image Clothing Company, we basically do the same thing, although we don't have shoes, and they do, you know, and I've got many pairs of Zero shoes. I love them. So I talk about them where I do for a lot of reasons. They're really great. Their products, their company, the people behind what they do, Steven, the founder, I think he's a co-founder, probably with his wife. Anyway, the big thing is the hands and the feet are basically the exact same thing. And a gripped arch is straight out from that pinky toe forward. Like I said, correlating with the neutral wrist, straight out from the forearm out the end of the pinky finger forward. And so what I talk about, because I actually have a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company that I made titled The Importance of Zero Drop Shoes. The term zero drop just meaning the same height front to rear, just as if we're standing flat on the earth naturally, right? Heels on shoes damage the body so much. If you put a heel on your shoe, you'll take not only your feet out of their only workings, but your wrists will drop as well. If your feet come off the ground and your body leans forward, it alters your whole body, and then it alters your hands. If we're not tying shoes evenly over toward the center line, and we're doing as I did till I was 24 years old, tying our shoes in this right-handed world with a right-handed knot on both feet, then the right side of our whole body stemming from our foot is being pulled away into external rotation, farther away from the body's center, just from a knot in a rope. Okay, I mean, it's just one side of a rope over the other, right around where our ankles are, which actually there's a video titled Always Stop Laces at Ankle Flexion under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company that I filmed just a few days ago. And so our feet correlating with our hands, we can never address our hands and have them benefit much at all, unless the amount of benefit that we have happens, but they'll just go back to how they were. Any like release of anything in the hands, if our feet are being altered by, you know, placing them in shoes again that are altering them in any way, and there's many ways, you know, and anything else throughout the whole body. So the hands, we just have to remember that they're not just the hands. The hands are the shoulders, because they'll do whatever the shoulder does, and vice versa. The shoulder will do whatever the hand does. But also, the hands are essentially the exact same thing, functionality-wise, as our feet. So the big thing with this is, you know, all of our videos we make talking about the hands and the importance of them just being able to be in that, you know, neutral wrist position. I mean, that's what I show when I talk about the neutrals in the body under a video usually, because it's easy to see on camera. We have a video titled The Importance of Even Elbow Extension. The importance of even sternocleidomastoid insertions up here behind our ears on our head, this muscle, the sternocleidomastoid. Videos titled The Importance of Even Lat Insertions, latissimus dorsi, right, that muscle, but down at our pelvis where it inserts. That's one end, and then it comes up and inserts to the rear of the upper arm as well. Those insertions need to be the same, otherwise if our pelvis moves, our hands won't be the same positioning. The thing with this is, it's like I say, the body can only ever work activated as a whole. And this is what I mean when I say I have a problem with specialists, you know, chiropractors, physical therapists, personal trainers, orthopedic people, massage therapists. I mention these people and I say this intentionally. I say it not to start some feud, but I say it to show you can't have somebody specialize in a certain part of the body. It can all only ever possibly physically, mechanically, on Earth's gravity with two sides to it and a center line work, activated as a whole. So when we have hand problems, we can't go to a hand specialist and have them fix the problem if our feet are altered, if our hips are being rotated because of drawstrings, one side tied over the other with a knot, and anything in clothing, shoulder seams just not sitting correct, oversized, falling to our dominant side, being right-handed and just reaching and doing things and pulling on the material with our right side in a right-handed world. All right, so tops are like a cage for the shoulders. A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, and it's just the case. We have to have our shoulders be locked in left to right with our tops. Otherwise, if there's play, well, the collar will pull on our neck, and there's just musculature on both sides. It goes from the jaw, stabilizing our entire body, out to our shoulders, and the shoulder is the hand, okay? But then, yeah, the edge seams of our tops as well, the top seams of our tops, they all just need to be where we discuss, as In The Image Clothing Company, nothing to do with us, but they're just the only one way the human body could work, possibly, mechanically, on Earth, ever. Otherwise, your hands will be altered from your shoulder seams or your collar of your top, right? So, anyway, the big thing with the hands is our hands get wider if they flatten out. Like the feet, when we grip arches inward, all the musculature of the body only contracts or gets shorter. And so we grip arches inward and the feet actually get like narrower. Did you see my finger? You hear this? There's so much built up excess bone in the knuckles of my hand on my right side, and it's getting better, but you can see it. I can't just straighten out my right hand like I can my left. Because this is what happens when our right, yes, as real as it gets. This is what I mean. I've made videos on this, but it's important to make this one as well, even though I've documented this to a degree. It's crazy. This is one of the biggest things in the body where patterning gets held, where it gets stuck, and then it goes to other things. You can never address your shoulder health if your hands aren't the same size. And my hands are not the same size or workings still, over a year into founding In The Image Clothing Company, after hundreds and hundreds of videos that I've made on multiple sides of In The Image Clothing Company, after I understand and have discussed the anatomy of the human body to the degree that I do up until now, after all of the work that I've done ridding scar tissue throughout my whole body and patterning, my right hand is still like terribly altered. It hurts. There's built up bone mass in between my fingers. We talked about the outside of the forearm and the elbow and the pinky finger on the right side of the body, the lower leg bone on the right side of the body, like the shin, you know, and then I mentioned earlier a couple videos on the Achilles tendons and specifically the right side of the body, which is the tendon that connects the calf muscle on the rear of our lower leg to the heel of our foot. Down there at the heel, it gets bound up, right? Like these insertions, sternocleidomastoid, the elbow itself, the latissimus dorsi insertion back here at our pelvis crest and our lower spine and the rear on the right side, specifically in the right-handed world. But then not only the right-handed world, but specifically if you do tie knots the left side over the right, you're just rotating your whole body into a right-handed patterning. And then all the other things, right? Just to go into what really makes it be a right-handed world, even for those left-handed people out there. And so the big thing is with the hand is anytime the shoulder is any lower on the right side, the hand will drop out of its neutral wrist like this, okay? When I show under the video the natural scapula position under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, and I show the shoulder blades, these big bones on our upper back called scapulas. There's one on each side, and there's all that natural motion. And I show, like I'm showing here, right? There's only one neutral in every position the scapula could have, okay? And we just need to allow it to be there through clothing and our life and the right-handed world and our daily patternings that we could potentially get into, and we just don't, by allowing our bodies to just stay centered, allowing the body to work, right? In the Image Clothing Company, anytime our shoulder is any lower on either side, the wrist will just drop, okay? And if our wrists drop out of their neutral position, then we're always tracking our hand instead of in line. The only way the fingers work and just can clear each other with all the bones going from the tips of the fingers up through the hand to the wrist. And we've got these two bones in our forearm. The importance of even forearm rotations, internal and external, right? A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, the importance of even forearm rotations. But then up to our shoulder, we've got all the musculature just traveling clear to our elbow, not the shoulder necessarily, from the fingertips. It stops at the elbow, and then we switch functioning, you know, and go up from the elbow through the humerus to the shoulder. Even though it's all the same thing, the motion really in the hands doesn't stop at the base of the hand, it stops at the elbow. And yeah, I mean, essentially. So we'll lose this rotation in our forearms. You know, it's hard for people to have their body centered and even, like actually stacked, with gripped arches in the feet, the pelvis even, the spine even, the whole body activated as a whole, shoulders even, elbows at the natural waist. We have a video titled Keeping Elbows at the Natural Waist under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. You know, and then have even rotations in their forearms, their shoulders even, their jaw centered and even, stabilizing their whole body. So if we have lack of rotations or discrepancy in evenness, if you will, in our forearms from left to right, well, that's probably coming from our hands, or if it's coming from our shoulders or even our feet traveling up and through our shoulder out to our forearm, you know, our hands will be affected either way, just because they're on one end of the forearm from the elbow, if you will, right? There's just two bones in the arm here, in the forearm, that just rotate over each other, and a radius and an ulna, right? They just rotate. And so if they get bound up, a lot of scar tissue gets built up on the outside of this forearm, because if you're not tracking in line like this, the only way your fingers can just mechanically clear all the bones in there, right? I mean, look, you take your hand out of its neutral wrist position and everything just binds up and it's on a very bad angle. But all the joints just need to connect through the ligaments, right, where it connects the bones in line like this. Then our tendons can just pull on the bones from the musculature in line. But if we drop ever out of that neutral wrist position because our shoulder's lower than its neutral position, then our hand will just be altered, okay? And then it's opening up like this, and our hand arch isn't there. Our hand flattens out if our shoulder drops or just comes out of its neutral position in any way, really, right? We just have to reside in our neutrals in everything in life, in every part of the body in life. Then our hands will be altered. And so, you know, I just had so much bone mass built up in my hand in an incorrect working position on my right side, because my right shoulder was always lower in an oversized top, with a collar seam on the upper left side, just placing it higher on the left, it drops the right side lower. And also tying shoes to the right on both feet doesn't allow the foot arch to grip, so the foot gets widened as well. It's funny, see, because it's hard for me to articulate my words when I put my foot out, because my body is falling off to the right side. No joke. I mean, that's as real as it gets. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what's happening. The jaw stabilizes the entire body. If the feet go out of their neutral, you can't use your jaw properly because it travels through your whole body and out to your hand. Now your hand's following the position of your foot. If your foot's tied away from yourself, right? We tie the knots over toward the inside of the body on both sides. And if it's tied opposing that, then yeah, your hand is also altered forever. I mean, through the whole time you have that on your foot, your body's just all one, you know. So the same size hands, it comes from keeping hands using things that are rounded to allow our hands to actually get neutral, right? Because we're neutral when we're round. If you flatten your hand out, it comes out of its neutral. And you heard it click there if you did in the mic. There's only a neutral where all the bones can clear, and the fingers are just different lengths, and so it makes the hand be round. And then we can round around our thumb, and then we're neutral from the pinky out. There's only one way the human body could ever work, and that goes for everything in it, and specifically here the hands. This is a good deep discussion on them. Okay, from the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. I'm in this for life. Stick around for the poodles. All right, I'm watching this big black dog over here in the field run around as I'm saying this stuff. I love dogs, man. My heart's in it, and you'll just see all of what we are able to do through it as time progresses, okay? Keeping less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes, man. A lot of free, beautiful information that applies to all dogs. You know, a big thing I talk about is holding leashes, holding handles, holding things in our hands, always around the hands. And if we hold things like a leash of a dog, you know, for a dog, we pull our hands out of their neutral rounding because the index finger comes in and the pinky finger comes in, and then there's that rounding, right? Because they're the two shorter of the four fingers on the outsides. And so this rounding naturally needs to be there, otherwise our shoulder will drop. And so I talk about when you hold things, you'll actually have more strength using just your two middle fingers like this to where your hand is then round than if you hold something with all four of your fingers and pull your other two, the index and the pinky, backward. Because it'll not only affect your hand, but it affects your shoulder and your whole body, okay? We have to have that rounding. So yeah, you can use your middle two fingers. You know, when we talk about it, again, just keeping that neutral wrist position, when we talk about holding dog leashes under In the Image Clothing Company poodles, you know, you hold a leash with your hand in a position where it's out of its neutral wrist, right? And your whole body's altered. The hand is the shoulder. But if we can keep our bodies neutral, then we can keep our bodies neutral, not unaltered, you know, and then we have a better time as the owner of the dog, and the dog does as well. So stick around for the poodles. Needless to say, because I've said it so many times, I'm almost gonna cry. But our hands, they'll just get different sizes. If we're using things that are flat in our life and we're right-handed, we'll just be using them with our right hand more. And then this position of our natural rounded hand, if we push the index finger and the pinky finger to be flat, well, it just gets wider. If you can just see how that works, you know, flatten it out, it's wider, let it round, and it actually gets narrower. And that's how the body really works, like I was saying with the feet as well. You know, so shoes shouldn't be too wide. We need to not be squeezing our toes in our shoe toe boxes. But, you know, that's the thing, is if our toes are altered, especially on the right side from a right-handed knot over there, then our hand will be, like I was saying, just to make that really clear in this. You address your handheld all you want, and if your foot's being altered on the right side, your right hand will always be altered as well. So once you start tying your shoes evenly, if you've been tying them unevenly, you'll have to address your hand as well on whatever side you started, you know, tying correct from previously not doing so. Man, you know, go. So, yeah, if we can't have our shoulders at even heights, then our hand won't be in this neutral wrist. Because in order to, like I referenced that video, the importance of even elbow extension, in order to actually fully extend our elbows all the way straight, our shoulders have to be neutral, so they can't be being pulled down on, or our elbow can't just extend all the way at our side, okay? But then also, you know, we have to have our shoulders at even heights, because if one of our shoulders is always lower than the other shoulder, then that hand on whatever side of the body the shoulder's always lower on just won't be able to grip all the way, because musculature only contracts. So when the hand closes, the shoulder has to come up as well. Just picture gripping something and pulling up. You're squeezing your hands closed together. when you push down to like push yourself up, like out of a pool, for example, or like up on a ledge, your hand can kind of open and push because your shoulders are also pushing down. The body contracts with the hands closing, the shoulders rising, and then you can push down and you can open your hands. I mean, really they only ever work in line, but just for the sake of seeing what's happening, if we have one of our shoulders always a little bit lower than the other one, then we take from our neutral at the shoulders and our neutral hands then being able to track in line like this with the fingers. If we drop one of our shoulders, the right, in a right-handed world, even just the distance of the thickness of a seam up on the upper left of a collar, now the right side's dropped, well, we can't fully close our left hand unless our right shoulder, no. We can't fully close whatever hand is lower than the other hand because it's just lower. The musculature is being pulled on. And so in the right-handed world, it'll almost always be the right side. Our shoulder, if it's any lower than the left, then our hand as well will be open more than the left, okay? And that's just how it works because musculature just only contracts. The hand gets closer together when it works. The fingers then are in line. Then we have that natural rounding to the hand, and it correlates with the height of our shoulders. It correlates with our feet. It correlates with the positioning of our hips as well, though, in the whole body, okay? So the big point is our hands have to stay the same size, and what will never allow them to is first using something flat. We have to have rounding to our bodies in the ways that there's rounding to the bodies, okay? So the hand is round, period, and done. Even if yours don't currently work rounded, well, you're within patterning. Your shoulders are probably also dropped, okay? I mean, there's just the neutral collarbone angle. That's a video, something like that I made back in 2024. I don't know if that's even still up on In the Image Clothing Company anywhere, but there is, you know, the collarbone has a neutral angle to it as well. So anyway, the body just it has to come from everywhere else besides the hands as well, if we're addressing the hands, because there's only a neutral to everything. And we live in a modern world. There's a video titled "Things Need to Fit in Our Hands" under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. And they just do. You know, we live in a world where we want things bigger all the time, as you know, the human condition, just, you know, the natural man, if you will. The natural man is an enemy to God and will be forever and ever unless it yields to the enticings of the Holy Spirit of God, right? In the Image Clothing Company podcast, we discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ in depth. We like things bigger a lot of the time as human beings. I don't personally, but right? And so we hold things in our hands that are too big. And if our hand is opened up, our shoulder will drop, okay? So the importance of same-size hands is really saying if we keep our hands the same size, our shoulders will then be able to be healthy. If we keep our hands the same size, our hips will then be able to be neutral and healthy. If we keep our hands the same size, our feet will then be able to be healthy. If we keep our hands the same size, our jaw will be able to then be neutral and healthy. Just meaning if nothing else is altering anything else in the body, the hands can. But if we're intentional to keep our hands the same size, then the rest of our body from the hand then can be okay. You know, the jaw is stabilizing the entire body, and anything that alters the hand alters the shoulder, because the hand's essentially the shoulder, and the shoulder connects to the jaw through musculature, tendons, okay? We have a lot of videos talking about the jaw. It has to stay in the center of the body. It stabilizes the entire body, and workouts don't help the jaw, okay? The anatomy of the human jaw, is that what it's titled? Maybe the mechanics of the human jaw? I think that's what it's titled. The importance of even ears, which are the jaw, essentially. The ears are just the hole between the rear of the lower jawbone and then the rear of the skull, really that sternocleidomastoid insertion. Eating and drinking with the left hand. Why eating wears you out. You know, these are a lot of videos. Well, the importance of the corners of the mouth is what it's titled. A lot of videos under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, those are some of the titles of them, about the jaw. And then we just talk about the jaw with everything throughout the whole body. Well, the jaw and the sternocleidomastoid, that's a video because it just barely clears. This muscle, the sternocleidomastoid, and the rear of the lower jawbone, they just, barely clear each other when our bodies are neutral. And the point is, if our hand is altered, the hand is the shoulder goes to the jaw, our jaw will then be pulled on from the shoulder, which is really coming from our hand. And so if we have uneven sized hands, we'll always have our jaw off to the side of our body that has the bigger hand. That's just how it will always be for every human on the earth forever. There's just a center line to gravity and the body itself where the musculature connects. Okay. Oh, how clothing affects speaking. A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. We talk about the jaw and specifically how the jaw is the shoulder and the ear, right? Just meaning it's connected and directly affected. More direct than just how everything else in the body is all connected, right? It's very direct, like exactly connecting with this, what you can see here if you're watching, right? Musculature and tendons from the jaw itself to the edge of the shoulder, through the collar of our needing to be centered tops, okay? And just our tops sitting in the only location the human body could ever work as well. So it's as real as it gets, bro. It's as obvious as it is once you see it. Clothing is truly the only fix to human beings' physical problems. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. I'm in this for life. Stick around for the poodles. That's not me wrapping this up. That's just me speaking it, because I know some people don't know who we are, and I'm making it very clear when I do. And right now is one of those times. The 17th of October, 2025. I'm in this for life, all right? So stick around for the poodles. It's about the dogs, man. A lot of it is. It's about God. It's about the human body. It's about some beautiful music. It's about some good things. But we'll do so much through what we're able to do with the poodles. So stick around for it. I'm not wrapping this up yet. I'm just making it clear. All right. As of today's date, the 17th of October, 2025. I know what I'm talking about with this, and you don't have to care to care. You don't have to care about me. It's not about me or In The Image Clothing Company, but truth is truth, and there's only one way God's gift to us, quote, the only thing that we have, unquote, an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. That's our human bodies, right? It's the only thing we actually have. There's only one way it could ever work. That's our entire focus under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. So I'm in this for life. This applies to every human on the face of the earth forever. The importance of same-size hands. It's like I want to fall over, actually. Hey. The importance of the same-size hands, it goes through your entire body. And like I'm saying, it can come from anywhere else in your entire body as well. I needed that. Right as I was saying I'm about to fall over, she came by and made me smile. God knows, man. God is my witness. I mean, I'm in this for life. I'm just making it as clear as I'm making it. Not that anybody's trying to dispute that. It's a testimony to what all we do here, and that we don't have a possible say over how the body could work. All right? We have no say. An episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. We're all the same, too, man. Everybody. You can have a deformity, amputation, birth defect, major surgery. I mentioned those things and whatever else it could be. But there is a universal human design. There's two sides to the body. And if we don't have fingernails on our hands, then our hand will just be overworked. Not having that natural strength backing it from the fingernails. I mean, I'm stronger in ways, nothing to do with me, but just than a lot of people who do workouts who don't have fingernails, just because I have fingernails that are cut properly. And that's the case for anybody. It's not to do with me at all, besides that I'm just doing this universal thing. That's what I mean. The fingernails are there for a reason. So if our fingers aren't being supported by our fingernails, then the hands will be overworked, and they'll just work wider. And like I'm saying, if the fingers are rolling around because the fingernails are not cut relatively flat on the tips, then your hands will just be wide and it'll drop your shoulder, because the human hand can only ever work in line. There's just bones in there, like the feet arches, that just have to work in their only neutral position to just clear each other, right? That's why, again, no claim, but In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique is just what we title it. The only way you can actually physically possibly weave a rope across the top of all the mechanics of what's happening in your feet. This is In the Image Clothing Company. I'm in this for life, man. I'm making it clear. I'm just making it clear. It's just documentation. It's just as real as it gets. It applies to every human on the face of the earth forever. It's nothing to do with me. Just a mouthpiece here, bro. Don't shoot the messenger when I'm yelling about things, because sometimes I'm really yelling about things. I know. Like full on yelling hard about whatever I'm saying. Sometimes, yeah, I know. Because it's the actual fix to our problems that we have as human beings physically, you know, and then it travels into everything else in our lives, emotional, spiritual, mental, all the sides of whatever it means to be the dynamic of a human being. Okay, we have to have the same size hands as one of those big things. So, you know, I don't want to try to tell you what to do, really. How to break up the excess bone mass in your fingers joints, and how to get your hand to track in its neutral position after so many years of it not being able to, right? I don't want to have to, you know, try to apologize for people damaging their bodies when it's not my fault, but because maybe I gave some kind of exercise on what to do. But I will say this, you know, there's only one neutral location for the shoulders, as there is for everything in the body. So what we have to do is have clothing fit. Clothing has to fit. What we have to do is take all stretch outside of any clothing we could ever place on our bodies. Musculature only contracts. Wearing things like gloves, keep them the right size for you, so you're not opening your hands to try to hold the gloves on and altering your shoulders and then the rest of your body traveling throughout, right? Hold things that are rounded. Always. Only and ever. Because there always, only and ever would be at least some type of rounding or texture to nature. We live in a modern world where things are very polished, flat. All right? Everything we do in our lives is be intentional to keep our hands in a neutral position where we can focus on the pinky finger and the outside of the forearm in everything that we're just doing to operate our hands with. Operate with our hands. Try to keep your fingers next to each other in everything you always ever do in life. Because the only way your hand can be wider through patterning like this is because your fingers are apart from each other, okay? They need to be next to each other in everything we do, okay? So, these are some things I can tell you, you know. There's probably a lot of scar tissue built up on the outside of your forearm and in your elbow. You need to be able to fully extend your elbow, otherwise you can't have inline fingers if you can't have an inline arm that travels from the tip of your finger up to your shoulder, tip of your farthest out finger, let's say, but, you know, from that neutral wrist out from the pinky as well, you know, is the focus. So I can tell you these things, but I don't want to tell you specific things on how to grind up grown bone mass in your body, because I don't want people to hurt themselves by me telling them like a very specific thing to do. But I will say, you know, you just have to be able to open and close your hand in any position your body's in while your hand is in line. And as you can see with me, I open my right hand and it like falls out into this pattern that it was in for so many years, the right-handed patterning, the right-handed world, out of its neutral wrist position, fingers splayed out, the hand flat. And this is just how it is for people, especially with our modern technology. We have a lot of things we're using pretty well universally across our entire earth that are man-made and altering, our entire lives, but coming most directly physically from our hands. So keeping hands the same size, man. I'm pretty sure there's a video titled "Keeping Hands the Same Size." That's why at the beginning of this I was saying, like, I just feel I have to make this, even though I've made so many things talking about a lot of what I said in this video up until right now. You know, I've already said a lot of this in other videos, but now I can reference all of those that I have referenced in this video as well. And just the depth of understanding that I have that is deeper than it would have been in any previous time to now. These girls, she has like a tail, like literally like a fox-looking tail, like it adhered to the back of her pants. It's funny. That's awesome. So, I mean that girl who rode around on the bike. She lifted my spirits for sure. I love this. I love giving this information, but it's heavy. You know, making these what might sound like claims, but it's hard. It's kind of hard for me to do. God says, say it, do it, put it out, make it. Even though it's long, whoever listens to it, and by when, even if it takes some time, make it. Right? Just make it is actually something I've had written down for a potential episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Just do it. Anything in your life you feel you need to do, but you have any kind of like thing saying, well, maybe not because of one specific or a few specific things. If you feel you need to do something, just make it. Just do it. You're only here the amount of time you're here. I'm here for life as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, and everything that I do at the beginning like this can and does help the rest of going forth as well. So this video, right now we're into it 1 hour, 20 seconds, and I'll keep going as long as I need to, because all the information here, like I'm saying, is documentation, is date marking. Your life as a journal is an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Congruency, we've been saying the same thing since the founding. I'm doing all that I can in all the ways that I can do that, right? Doing all that I can do to do all that I can do, if you will, at the beginning, before I have the team, before we have the poodles, before we have our building here in the state of Utah, the United States of America, for In the Image Clothing Company to do all that we do. I'm doing all that I can at the beginning. And a video like this is and always can and will be so much bigger than I may realize. When I'm walking around like, God, I've already said most of the stuff that I'm going to put into this video. And he says, just do it anyway. All right. This is the rest of my life, and this is every human on the face of the earth. Everybody has hands. Maybe you were born without hands at all. Maybe you had some big accident and lost one or both of your hands. Maybe your hands are very differently shaped than other humans, and not through patterning, but just through your own body. And I get it, that's what I mean. I mean, we're individuals where we are, but there's still two sides to the body. There's still a center line. There's still a center of gravity, and we're all placed on the same earth. Okay. Okay, check this out. Shadowing, brother. Yeah, so I'm in this for life, and as I say when I make these videos, there's a lot that I could say that I haven't in this, in any ones that's the case for, and that's basically every video that I've been making at this time period, because I know a lot about what I'm here to do at this point. For the rest of my life, I'm here to discuss the anatomy of the human body and to help people with theirs, because we all have one. Every body has one. See what I mean? And there's only one way it could ever work. Getting as close to the universal human design as we can get within our own situations. And I'm here to give information on the health of dogs and all that comes within the Image Clothing Company poodles, and interacting with our dogs as the owners. And I'm here for life, doing these things. I'm here to spread the truth of God, imperfectly, because I'm imperfect, as we all are as human beings, equals, but imperfectly evil, yes, and equal. That's true, right? And I'm the evil one, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. There's a golden doodle right there. Not that barking, I think that was actually only a human being, but these other people over here have a couple dogs, and one of them's a golden doodle. I say a mutt is a mutt, and I stand on it for the sake of healthy dogs, and planned, proper, purebred dogs is the ideal, with planned litters, health testing of dogs, and these things, but I do love mixed dogs where I do, where they're healthy. I really genuinely do, and they can always come to Poodle Parade events, unless anything is very specifically specified otherwise. But no, I mean, poodle purebred and poodle mix of any size, we're gonna do a lot through a lot for life. I'm in this. I'm here forever. I'm here forever till the day that I die. Check that out, right? And so, the importance of same-size hands. I keep, not saying that word the importance of the same-size hands. That's the video title. And you'll get to see, as you have up until now, the transformation in my own physical body as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. I speak out of experience. I, quote, practice what I have preached, unquote. However it's exactly worded. That's an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. I preach what I practice. On the back end, I practice things and then I talk about them. That's how I know what I know here about what I do under In the Image Clothing Company and all four sides is personal experience. So You know, you can see, as I've said, God had me start this at a time where documenting under what I call the gift of video, my own physical body, you can watch it change through the truth of what we show here. And that in itself is such a beautiful testament, because why would you listen? An episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, you know, what I said in there is the only reason we'd ever listen to anybody is if they're giving us the truth. There's only truth in life, and we can just relay it, being something that is apart from all of us. Truth, right? God is truth. He's the way, the truth, and the life. He's God. He's the great I am. He's almighty. He's the creator of all things. He is Jesus Christ. And we're designed in his image. And so it's his design, not ours. So we have no say. Okay. But what I do have a say on is whether I open my mouth and be a mouthpiece for God or not, to change lives of human beings and dogs across the earth forever. And so I'm the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, and here I am. All right, same size hands. Thank you. Today is the date that I said. I won't say it again, but I just want to make it so clear. Please, if you'd like to know information on dogs that applies to all dogs, or if you'd like to see a lot through the gift of video about our purebred standard poodles, or just, you know, whatever it is with us and dogs, please, you know, either stick around or stop back in for the poodles. Thank you.